Congratulations again, Terry. So, our next distinguished awardee just emailed me to say that he missed his flight to Montreal. He was, believe it or not, he was just at his 50th high school reunion, and which was in DC. And I have to say I did some sifting through Google Images to prepare a few slides, and his visage hasn't changed in many years. So in any case, Evelyn Attia has graciously agreed to accept his award, but before I do that, since he's not here to give a rebuttal, I thought I would still make a few remarks and maybe we'll have more fun with it. So first of all, here so I can see the slides. You all know Tim. Oh, there. Technology. You all know Tim. You know his many accomplishments. In some ways, this sort of tribute could write itself. Tim is the William and Joy Reed Professor of Pediatric Psychopharmacology at Columbia. We also know Tim, as many of us know, even those of us who weren't lucky enough to be his students, know Tim as an extraordinary mentor. And he is, of course, a research luminary. He's a prolific writer. I counted somewhere near 300 scholarly publications on his CV. I'm sure that was an abbreviated CV. And he's an all-around scholar. But these dimensions of Tim's excellence are actually not what we're here to recognize him for today. We're here to recognize him for another kind of contribution. You probably know this already, but in case you don't remember it, it seems that Tim has been involved in every iconic institution of the field. And just to remind you of all he's done for the field, he's very involved in the AED's founding, and he was actually the third president of the AED back in the 1990s. I actually dredged out of, again, Google, or actually it's the AED archives, a column he wrote as president-elect, and I'll show that to you in a moment. Tim also has served as associate editor of iGen, and of course you know that he has recently been the president of the Eating Disorders Research Society, and he's done many other things and received many awards, but I just thought I would choose three particular icons. And then of course there's a third, or a fourth, which is the DSM Eating Disorders Working Group. And I want to say a few words about that today, because what can be said about Tim is not going to be told really in the pages of the DSM-5. And I see some of our work group colleagues around the room here, and I really agree. It did surprise, I actually hadn't fully realized that Tim was the chair of the DSM-4 and then actually signed up, or was pressed into service to be the chair of the DSM-5 Eating Disorders Working Group, which is actually tremendous to me. And as you all know, the DSM-5 will be launched in a few weeks, and it's heavily embargoed. We're not at liberty to say what's in it, but we can say something about the process that led to it. So let me tell you that story. Now, what you don't know about DSM-5, well, you may know this about DSM-5, but what Tim had to do, what he was tasked with doing, is not only updating the eating disorders chapter and the feeding disorders chapter, but he had to take some very unruly colleagues who like to spend time outdoors and having fun, and he had to get them to sign up to sit in a room that looked like this. In fact, this is the room. I'm pretty sure this is the Sheridan National Conference that we were in for a very long time. In fact, the years went on and on and on, and still we came back to this conference room because actually we enjoyed working on it. This is the view. We had no windows in the conference room, but occasionally we had a view, and this was the view we had. And sometimes we had this view, which was very exciting because the colors changed. And yet we came back, and we I don't know, work group members are in the audience, so they can correct me if I'm wrong, but it was an extraordinary process, extraordinarily collegial, fun, and hard work. And at the very end of it, Tim permitted one trip out to Washington, D.C. to celebrate. and Evelyn actually organized it. And here we all are, and we're smiling at the end of these 5 odd years. And I know, yes, there's good food and alcohol involved, but we were smiling because we were actually having a good time. And it caused us to ask Tim, how did you do this? How did you get us to sit in this room, meeting after meeting for 5 years and work this hard? And Tim shared with us a story about his family crest. Okay, so this is the Walsh family crest, and I hadn't seen it before, but Tim kind of walked us through it, and actually he said, well, there's another version of the family crest, and this is what it looks like. Now this might not strike you immediately. Rich, I see you in the back. Rich probably translated for us, and we'll come back to the translation of the motto at the bottom, which I'm sure, I don't read Latin, but you probably can't even see it there. But there's something about this motto that struck us as what would give Tim the fight in him and the fire in the belly to get the DSM-5 revised. And here it is. I'll blow it up a little bit for you. Wow, that's not a great image. So the motto is, and forgive my Latin, and Rich, you can correct me if I'm wrong, it's transfixus sed non mortuus. And that means, and if I don't know if I have I probably don't have a laser pointer, but if you see the swan at the top, it's got a spear through its throat. It means pierced but not dead. That is the Walsh family motto. Okay, so Tim sort of attributed his ability to get us to do this work to the family motto and his legacy in that. But there had to be something more because we were, I was thinking a lot about what Tim has done for the field. He's spoken to scholars, he's spoken to patients, he's spoken to students. He's done the sort of rigorous integration of research, service, and training that is so essential to founding and growing a field. So, I can't really tell you how Tim did it, how he's managed to, do so much, like bring us together to rewrite the DSM-5, mobilize the field to create the AED and to grow the AED to what it is today. But I can tell you what he's done, and I can tell you that, from his president-elect column in the AED Forum in the last decade, actually the last century, you see, he looks just the same. This was 20 years ago, this picture. From his more recent contributions to the DSM-5, I can say that Tim has not just given his best to the field, he's mobilized the very best in us. And so I want to say, even in absentia, congratulations, Tim, and thank you for that. And accepting the award for Dr. Walsh.
I can just say a couple of words. I'm so sorry that Tim is missing all these words. I'm hoping that Roland Orenstein's great efforts on the iPhone is going to get all of this on videotape. He'll be so touched. But like Tim, from Dulles Airport, we got his comments. And he did want very much to thank the AED. Really, it's been the colleagues in the field that have made it a pleasure for him to do all of the wonderful work that we all appreciate his having done. And the colleagues, I can't call them mentees because he treats us all as colleagues and collaborators and partners, but his many colleagues at Columbia and those who've come through Columbia and affiliated with us in one way or another are another part of the success story. So he thanks all. His other comment, he sort of guessed, Anne, that you might be mentioning DSM-5 a few times, and just wanted to warn everyone, the book's not out yet, but he's not giving this back. Thank you.
So I'd like to call Cindy Buell